Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, good evening, whatever it might be. This is theory lecture number 5 for the Engineering Graphics, Technical Graphics course. We're going to talk about some standard practices for doing things orthographically, and then we're going to do a little bit of isometric drawings here. So, with that said, I'm going to then show you a little part here. Let's see if it shows up here much. Okay, it looks like this. I'll turn a little bit. And it's kind of got a general shape here. Okay, bring it up here. Okay, it's got 3 slots in it. The sides right here. 1. Get this thing out of the way. It might help some. There we go. 2 and 3. Looking at from the view here, you know, it looks like, and it is 2 cylinders. Looks like a triangle in each of them there, although you're seeing some depth with this camera. Looking at from the bottom. Okay, I'm not going to worry about putting the bottom shape in this thing on this one, but we'll leave it flat. But again, this is what we're looking at. Okay, and let's talk about this thing. Okay, let's talk about it. You have a positive cylinder, so we're trying to break things down via geometry. Okay, so let's count all the positive geometry on it. We have a positive cylinder here. Okay, we have another positive cylinder on top of it. We have one negative cylinder that goes all the way through the object. And we've got these prismatic partial negative slots here, here, and there. Okay, and I'm going to leave the little keyway off and so on, but this kind of gives you an idea of the part we're looking at. Now, let's take this thing off and let's look at my crude sketch of this actual part. Okay, and my top one's just not that good, I have to admit it. I've gotten a little bit big of a hurry here, but hopefully you can do a bit better than I do. You know, what you can't do, you teach, is what people tell me all the time. So I'm teaching away here, folks. Anyways, let's break this down from a cylinder standpoint. One positive cylinder right here, aligned with the top view, the circular view of the cylinder right there. Okay, so we got that taken care of. 2, the smaller cylinder that sits on top of the bottom one, shown in a rectangular view here, shown in a circular view here. The negative cylinder goes all the way through the object here, goes all the way through the object here, and then follow the 3 slots, 1 here, 1 there, and 1 there. Okay? Now, you may ask, what is this line here? This line going around here, there should be a gap in here, is a center line. It aligns then where these slots are at. Okay? That center line is termed, this center line right in here is called a bolt circle. A bolt circle. It's a circle, it's a center line, and it used to place, okay, it uses to place, forget my center lines here, center line out here, and likewise a center line there. Okay, it's used to place to locate holes. In other words, you would give a diameter here of some value for this bolt circle, and then that would tell you where these bolts would size, you know, 120 degrees apart and so on. So again, this center line is called a bolt circle. Now, let's look at this object in the front view, this slot here. Now notice this one here is 90 degrees to your line of sight. So if I bring that down right in here, your hidden feature would be right here, there, and then the center line would be approximately about right here. Okay? But now, what happens on the other side here? Okay, if we brought this thing down, there would be one that would be sitting here, and one that would be sitting here. And that would make this drawing confusing. Okay, so there's a standard practice. So it acts as if you're taking and moving this axis to here, or moving that, both these collapsing to this location, so you're 90 degrees your line of sight, and projecting them down. Okay, so again, I'm just going to put this in red where it imaginarily sits. Okay, it imaginarily sits right here. It's that red pencil right, that is. Sits right there. Okay? And again, so when you do that, your projection comes just like it did on the other side. You've got the dash Again, this is awesome, but it's the same. The dash is here, and the center line shown right here, the axis. Okay, you have those shown there. That is called revolution. When you revolve these things into position, it's called revolution. And it's not the French Revolution or the American Revolution or the Iranian Revolution or the Russian Revolution. It's the revolution of geometry. So it's a geometrical revolution, okay? What that does, it cuts down the amount of hidden features, and it cuts down the complexity of these parts here, okay? So that's how you'd revolve this thing around on an orthographic projection. So then, you might want to freeze this thing here a minute and go ahead and sketch this out, okay, to actually show it. But now what we want to do is, I want to turn this thing over and get the isometric side, and then I want to build this thing just like I've done before. I want to take each feature at a time. In other words, the base cylinder here, I'm going to build that first. I'm going to build the top cylinder. Then I'm going to build this negative area in here, and so on. So first off, I'm going to build the base negative or the base positive cylinder here. Now notice I've cheated already, and I've put in my construction for this entire thing. Okay, so again, if you're to count, this is 14 here by 14 here. So you have a cube that's 14 by 14, and it's 3 high. Okay, so now we want to go through and we want to construct our isometric ellipses in to actually make this thing appear as a cylinder on the isometric. So I'm going to start on the top. So I'm just going to do this top one here. So again, if I just come across here, remember, here's my construction right here for the top. And so then, I'm going to say, well, again, if I was a swinging arc here, okay, I'm going then from right here to out across here. That would give you, again, I'm going to turn mine a little bit to make it easier, but that would give you then this over here, and I'm going to turn it the other way. Again, for me, it's easier to flip it around. Whatever works for you, works for you. And then again, if you would split this thing in half again, and approximate in half again, it will give you an idea of where this ellipse then comes around. There, coming over here, then we're splitting in half here, we're splitting in half here, and then it comes around again to this location. And then you end up with, got a little bit flat on that side, make it just a little bit further out, and you end up with this construction cylinder. Do the same thing on the bottom. I'm coming down 3, coming over here 3, coming back here 3, okay, coming down to here, over to there, coming down to here, and then over to here. My suggestion is, if it starts to getting really difficult for you to visualize, is to use colored pencils. Now, I unfortunately left my colored pencils at home, so I'm going to use a blue pen on the bottom here. Realize that you would not do this. It should be construction, but I think for ease of visualization, I'm going to go over this in blue here. So again, this is the blue one across here. Make sure I don't screw it up here. Coming down here, coming down over here, coming down here. It's a blue one right here. Okay, coming back to here. Okay, over to here. If you do it in light construction with colored pencils, if you do have problems, it'll make it easier to visualize. Okay, and I'm not sure how good those colors are coming in here, because I'm partially red-green colorblind, so I have difficulties with them anyways. But again, coming across to here, coming across to here, you get the point. I'm going right across here, and I'm developing this ellipse on the bottom. Well, you got a couple key points right here anyways, because this point here is showing a limiting element. You know it's got to go down 1, 2, 3 blocks. So if you look at that right away, that should line up. The same thing over here. This comes down 3 here. Well, you know that, again, let me turn this. You know on the bottom that this comes over to here. Okay. And so then you can just say, okay, well, if I look at this part right in here, it's going to round right around into there. And this one's going to round right around into here, okay? So then you get the construction for this geometry. Get a little bit, let me take this a little bit further over here, okay, right into there. Okay, so you can see then, if I'm just looking at the one cylinder here, darken it up just a little bit, you're seeing the cylinder right up here, the top of it, which is again called the base of the cylinder, confusing at me. And then the bottom cylinder, if you were to draw it all the way in, would be sitting right in here. Okay, connecting them together. So now let's do the other positive cylinder. The other positive cylinder, again, the same technique. Going across here, and again, if I take mine and turn it for me, going to turn it here, you know, over here. And then I've gotten to the point now where I can actually, pretty much from practice, put the ellipse in, okay, that side. You know, you can clean it up, though, a little bit when you darken it in. So now we have then the point here. So now we can draw the point down to where? Well, now we're on the very top of this object again, okay? This is where it can get a little bit confusing. This is where you want to say, okay, now here's my base right here. Okay, so if I drop this down, bring this over, okay, now your base is saying, well, here's the base of this thing, dropping this down, okay, and then bringing this down to here. So I'm trying to get this thing, so I'm visualizing this base in here. So again, where I want to go is I want to go down how many blocks? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks. I think yours should have maybe been 9, but it doesn't matter. So then if I come down to here, okay, dropping that down, it should be right across the top of where this one's at, right in here, will be the limiting element of that cylinder, right straight down to there. Again, right straight down to here. Okay, and again, if you visualize and do this in red, okay, hopefully the red shows up, but again, I'm coming then, here's the bottom of this thing, and it's going to be the red over the blue here, the red over the blue here, okay? So again, if I bring down this, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, there goes back 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, back 4 there, got a little carried away with my red there, bring this over, okay. Let's see here, did I bring it back far enough now that I say that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I want 1, 2, 3, 4. I did have it right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to there. Oh, I went over 3 on this one. What am I doing? This needs to go over 1 more. There we go. So we have this then right in here. Again, coming across, coming down to here. Let me maybe zoom up on that a little bit more. Okay, across to here. Then you can say, well, here's my ellipse then is going to go from, again, right in here. Again, I'm going to turn this. For me, it's easier if I go this way with it. Then it's going to wrap around until it hits this point right here. It's going to wrap around again here until it hits the point right there. So now, let's make this thing so we can see some of this, okay? So I'm going to put the cylinder on top, darken it in. It drops down, comes over to here, drops down here, comes over to here. Okay, and I'm not going to darken this one in here because we're going to cut some of this thing out. But again, let me zoom out a little bit. And we have then the cylinder shown on the top, constructed in lightly on the bottom. Now with that construction, notice if I put this thing in dark, it shows up pretty well. So now, you know, you see the cylinder sitting on top of this thing right here. I'm not sure how well this is showing up, but you've got your cylinder on top and the cylinder on the bottom. So then let's flip this thing over and look at the dimensions I used over here. So I've just put this one in right here. So I want to put the negative cylinder, which has a diameter of 6 or radius of 3. Okay, so again here, I want to say, okay, I'm going to go over now then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3 there. There's my construction. Right over here. Again, drawing my ellipse in here. Again, you look at this thing and say, oh, maybe clean up a little bit when I darten in. Maybe not quite have it that far around here. Okay, then I'm just going to darken it up. And there we have the negative cylinder in the object. So now it's beginning to look like this thing, okay? It's actually beginning to look like this thing. Now, the orientation of this thing, well, I would put this automatically right on the front. Easy to see, okay? I'd put that notch out on the front here. So again, if you're looking at the front of this thing, we have that front defined right here. Right here. So let's just say, okay, if the prismatic part is here, sketching that in. If that's just a prismatic part, it comes down and cuts here, comes down and cuts through here, okay? Then this will start to go backward, and then you can put a little ellipse in right in here, okay? So again, I'm coming on this side saying, okay, this thing comes back, wraps around here, comes back down, comes back down to there. Notice you're not putting center lines in here, and then it's cut back in here to show you the depth. Okay, to actually show you the depth. And you got to estimate, well, if that one's over there, where's about 120 degrees? I don't know. What do you think? About right in, we could cheat and just say it's right over here, okay? Again, I would probably do that and just give that to somebody because you have it, even though it's not at the exact location. But again, if I come over here, I always got a line here started. So if I come over here, okay, so I come over here in this direction, lining perpendicular there, parallel there, bring this thing back approximately 2 blocks, bring the ellipse in across here, okay. Then again, this will drop down at this point. So then my ellipse is then shown over here, or that cutout. Again, this comes in here and wraps around. Okay, this drops down. This comes around to here. Okay, that's kind of confusing there, but that's the way it appears. This drops down. This comes around. Again, this point drops down here. This thing should have been probably a bit straighter down, but then there you have the object, okay? Again, does it look like this? Yeah, it represents this. Again, we're estimating points, but if you said that it's not exactly 120, but in a sketch, to get the idea across, hey, we got a slot here, we got a slot here, okay? We've got one hidden back in there, so we don't even need to show that, okay? So again, this would, if you wanted to, you could say, well, it's sitting like right over here, and put the thing in there. But again, you don't need to because you wouldn't see it anyways. And since it's placed in that orientation, you have 2 of them, you know where the other one's at. So again, the isometric sketches are there to get you out and to give you a quick and accurate representation visually for somebody to look at. The orthographic of this thing, again, shown here with the bullet circle annotation here, with the revolution techniques down here, okay? And with that said, that pretty much wraps up this particular lecture. A little bit quicker than the other ones, but again, this will give you time to look this over, to sketch it and turn the stuff in. And again, I hope everybody has a great day, great night, wherever it's at, evening, morning, wherever you're at, and you all have a safe and happy day and night. And I appreciate your time. And now I'm going to walk out of here, and I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my day here in West Lafayette, Indiana, at the great Purdue University. Thank you very much.